Hey everybody, welcome back to Board and Savior. Today, I'm designing a board game insert. I recently got a new 3D printer, and I am going to guess that there is already a video on this channel about what I did with it for Unmatched, my new Unmatched storage solution, part of which is right here. I'm recording this before I've recorded any of that video, but that video I think is going to be much easier to record and edit than this one. I think this will take a longer time, so I'm guessing this will come out later. Time travel's crazy, right? Anyway, first thing I did with my new 3D printer was finish my Unmatched storage solution, which is beautiful and I love. The second thing that I did was to print from Etsy. A dude has made STL files, which is like if you don't know, a 3D model file for an organizer for Twilight Imperium. It organizes the base game of Twilight Imperium, Prophecy of Kings, and Thunder's Edge all into one single, the regular base game box. It's all in there, and it's great. It was $5 on Etsy. If you have any of those games, I only currently have Twilight Imperium and Prophecy of Kings, but I will at some point get Thunder's Edge when I have disposable income. It's totally worth it. It's such a fantastic storage solution. I'll try to remember to link that below. I also, right after that, printed an insert for Star Wars Rebellion, which actually just finished printing. The printer is right there. It is now done as of like literally 10 minutes ago. My next project, because those, Rebellion and Twilight Imperium, those were things that people put up onto the internet. Twilight Imperium for $5, I believe, and then Star Wars Rebellion just up for free on, I think it's called Maker's World. Again, I'll try to remember to link that below. Those people just made themselves, put up for a couple of dollars, put them up for free. But not all of the board games in my collection have what I need available online. And I will tell you why, because the board game that I'm tackling today, which is probably in the thumbnail so you already know, is Marvel Crisis Protocol. Not a board game at all. No, a miniatures game. A miniatures game which is like a solid game, but I like it for the toys. I like to paint Spider-Man and Black Cat and, you know, all the friends. Daredevil. Anyway, it has way too many tokens. The reason that there are fan-made inserts for Marvel Crisis Protocol, but kind of the problem with a miniatures game where it differentiates from a board game is that everybody's going to have different stuff for their Marvel Crisis Protocol. Some people are crazy about the Inhumans, and I don't have any Inhuman stuff. Because who gives a shit about Black Bolt? So it would be difficult to design the perfect insert for Marvel Crisis Protocol because inevitably people just get the little miniatures things that they are into. So my needs for a Marvel Crisis Protocol insert will be inevitably different from yours. However, when I'm done with this whole thing, I will put up what I've made online. I highly doubt anyone will need it because it's so specific to what I require, but I'll put it up. Who cares? That is my goal here. My goal is to, for the first time ever, design a board game insert in Blender and then 3D print it and then have it and use it for this game. But I'm coming to you without plans. I'm coming to you with the intent to do this thing, and I will do my best to document the process of putting it all together, because while I don't think this specific insert is going to be helpful to anybody but me, I think the how I made it could be helpful to you, because there isn't a ton of this kind of thing that I have found on the internet, because I've been looking for, like, has anyone made tutorials on like how to design your own 3D printed inserts? And there are some resources of like, is it OpenCAD? I think it's OpenCAD. Someone has made a board game insert generator kind of thing where you can punch in measurements, like, I'm trying to make a box that's 200 millimeters by 150 millimeters, and I want it to have this many openings in it, and it's got to have a lid that closes like this. And if that were something that I was knowledgeable enough to use, I would be using it. But I tried to play around with it, and I couldn't really get it to go for me. And there weren't tutorials that I was able to find that explained how that works. So I'm gonna do things a different way because I couldn't figure that out, because I've never used OpenCAD before, and it's a little functional for my taste. I like a little bit more of a nice interface, a little friendlier. So what I will be using, and I'm talking for so long, maybe I'm putting clips up, maybe you're bored. What I will be using is Blender, which is an app that I have a relative amount of familiarity with, but not one that I've used in a while. So that will be good if you are also unfamiliar with Blender, because I will have to relearn things that I can impart to you, the things that I am relearning. But that's what I'll be using. I'll be using Blender, and then I have a Bamboo Lab A1. Kind of seems like the 3D printer that simply everyone gets at this point, because it's very plug and play. You just put in some screws and then it starts printing. It auto levels, it auto does everything. You have to clean the bed every once in a while, but it's really nice. It has presented very few problems for me, and that's been a wonder, because my previous 3D printer was an Ender 3v2, and all it did was create problems for me. So with that, I'm moving on to whatever the next step of this is, which I guess I'll tell you in a moment. Future Ben will know. This Ben doesn't yet. Wish me luck.
Welcome to my table of curiosities. You can see way too many damn tokens, first of all, but that's not what we're here to talk about right now. We're here to talk about the first step of the process. We got a mic? Great. The first thing that I did here was over here. I took, it just so happened that two pieces of paper, how am I gonna show this? Two pieces of paper kind of taped together were the bottom width and length of the box. I took the measurements of the box. I don't remember what it is. It's like 250 something millimeters by 250 something millimeters, and there's like 95 millimeters high, something like that. The first thing that I think makes a lot of sense to do is figure out the floor plan of the box, right? So my current floor plan is something like this. In Marvel Crisis Protocol, you got these like big old hero cards for the characters, and then you have all of these non-hero cards that show like abilities that you can, associate with your teams. So my plan, more or less, is this kind of thing. In this top corner over here, there's going to be a box that's got the hero cards, and a second box that's got the hero cards, and then two boxes on top of those with the same dimensions, but with two compartments for the non-hero cards that go above it. So this top corner is box, and then box on top of those, and the top boxes have two compartments for the smaller cards. So that seems to me like that should work. Then below that strip, there will be a space for multiple token storages. And I haven't measured that all out. I'm just kind of assuming that that's gonna work. That it might be like 1, 2, next to each other, 3, 4, 5, maybe 6, like 2 and 2 there. Because the thing about token storages is that you kind of have to build them so that the tokens face out, so that you can like pick them up with the empty edge I'll explain what that means if that's hard to understand, if I'm not explaining it well. I'll do something better at some point. They also might just be, they might not be token specific. They might just be like little bowls, little holes for types of tokens, right? Like you've got 2 token trays that are divided, and it's for like all of the energy that's there. Token trays that are divided for all of the wounds that are there. And then you've got like tokens with little compartments for the bleed condition and the stun condition and the slow condition. I think maybe that's what we're gonna do. Anyway, that's gonna go down here, and then on this left-hand side, that's where all of the movement tools are gonna go. They're gonna go over on this side over here. So that's my plan, and then this fits down here. I don't know if I'm gonna give this its own, oh, I hate that happened. I don't know if I'm gonna give this its own plastic component for it, or if I'm just gonna kind of set it on top of stuff. That seems like it might be easier, but maybe if giving it its own plastic component fills out the box nicely and makes it look all sleek and good, then maybe I'll do that. But otherwise, it might just rest on top. I don't know if I'll need to do all that, you know? Anyway, after kind of planning out where I wanted everything to go, generally, then I figured it was time, and I'm just cleaning up as I do this, because you heard me screw everything up. Then I figured it was time to start actually figuring out dimensions of some of the boxes, and I feel like it makes a lot of sense. Oh, and I lied, that's not everything. There's gonna be an additional, very, very small, very, very not tall, it won't be small, it'll be big enough to fit these, that's gonna go on top of this these are like Thanos, Chosen of Death, Dormammu, Dark Intruder, kind of like scenario cards that are a little bit bigger than anything else. So I'm gonna have a box for that that's gonna go on top of all of the other cards, but much, much thinner than the rest of them, because they haven't made a ton of those, so I don't expect that there will be a ton that I'll ever need to store, even if I buy more stuff. So it's gonna have a little bit of extra room, but not a crazy amount. Like these measured 2 millimeters, and I'm gonna make the interior component of that 6 millimeters, so I could have, you know, an additional, like, I don't know, bunch of these, 8 of these, something like that, whatever. So I thought it would make a lot of sense to make the bottom layer of something, the bottommost something, which is going to be one of these hero card trays, a holder for all of these hero cards, and I'm making these holders larger than the current dimensions of this so that I can have more hero cards as more come in. So these currently measure 33.5 millimeters, and I have, no, sorry, that's the regular cards, the tallest thing of the regular cards. These currently measure 26.5 millimeters, and I will have an interior dimension for these of 33 millimeters, so an extra 7-ish millimeters of cards. Now that I'm thinking about it, what is 7 millimeters of cards? How many extra cards is that? Because that doesn't, now that I'm saying it out loud, it doesn't sound like a ton. So 7 millimeters of cards, that's like 6. So what, like 2 more maybe? You're watching me do this live, deal with it. So 18 more heroes for the lifespan of this game. That sounds low to me. And it's not 18, because it's 18 on both sides, and the other side has even fewer. But that's, I mean, it's still 36, 40 more heroes for the rest of time. I need to get the Fantastic Four whenever those come out. I don't have Kitty Pryde yet. Maybe I'll need to rethink some of these measurements. I can probably take a little bit more away from the cards. These are really screwing me over because there's only 3 of these. What do I do with, like, they need to be stored somewhere though. What do I do with these? What do I do? Because they don't fit underneath is the thing. They have to go on top. I don't know. I'll come back to you on that. Anyway, I did design, and you can see utter chaos. I don't know if it'll pick up on the camera. I'll try to get a shot of it. I could take a picture or something. The utter chaos of this. So I know, because I've got my little calipers, I know how tall these cards are. They are 152 millimeters that way, and then they are 101 millimeters that way. So I added a millimeter basically on either side. 154 millimeters for the height, and then 103 millimeters for the width of these hero cards. So that there's like a little bit of wiggle room in here. Now that I'm also thinking about this, what is the plan for getting them out? Like, do I just have to flip the whole thing over? That seems inconvenient. Like, I'd like there to be like a little channel along the side, right? So like you've got like the whole box is like along these sides, but then this side is a little bit wider, and there's like a finger channel so that you can reach your finger in and then kind of hook the bottom and like pick them up that way. You know what I'm saying? So maybe I have to add in more width to allow for a finger channel so that I can pick them up without needing to just dump the whole thing over. Okay, that's interesting. I was about to go start modeling this, but you can't forget about a finger channel. But I've also figured out what the lid situation needs to be, at least an initial test run for what the lid needs to be. I'm thinking of doing a sliding lid. For Ankh Gods of Egypt, which I printed this insert a million years ago, and by that I mean 3 years ago probably. This is one that I got online, and they have these wonderful little sliding lid inserts. So I just straight up took measurements from this to base my stuff on. So this lid, the way that it works is basically it's about 2 millimeters high, and then on the edges, the 2 millimeters height is like a gradual slope down to either side. And then the box has these like little rail channels so that you can slide in that graduated 2 millimeters. And it's packed pretty tight, so it's a little bit difficult to get it. Come on, baby. And then you slide it, and that's how it works. So I basically just copied that wholesale from this, and hopefully it'll work. Maybe, do I just model it and see if it works? No, I should put in the finger channel. Okay, so my plan, my immediate plan is to figure out the finger channel dimensions, and then model this and then print it. So hopefully the next time you see me, I have a printed thing that may or may not work. That's where we are right now. That's where we're at. And this is, I think there's probably gonna be, I was hoping to just kind of do it perfectly, all in one go for everything, but there might be prototyping and I might waste filament, and I'll just have to live with that, even though I would love it to just be perfect right out the gate. But that's unrealistic. We have to accept that that is unrealistic. And also maybe I just make these things higher and I just live with lid lift. Like, that's fine. Lid lift isn't the end of the world. It's not the end of the world. It's totally fine. I don't know. We'll see. I'll let you know what I decided. Okay, bye.
Hello. I realized that, of course, the next time you see me will not be when I have something printed because part of this is showing how modeling works. Let's turn on the light. And is that too bright? It's fine, maybe. Okay. So this is the box that I made that exists. Why am I in material preview? I want to be in solid. Okay, let me explain how I did this because I made this before I started the video. I didn't know that I was going to do the video. So the way that you do this is you will open up Blender and you'll start a new scene. You'll do a general thing, and then this will be what's there. There will be a cube, there will be a camera, and there will be a light. I just deleted the camera and the light since we don't need them. Since we're not making like a 3D render, we're making 3D files, so you don't need that. There will also be a cube. You can delete the cube, but no, don't delete the cube. Never mind, don't do that. You are going to turn the cube into your box, which is what I did. I'm going to stop talking about what you're going to do. I'm going to tell you what I did. So I turned the cube into a box. So how I did that is I pressed the tab key to get into edit mode. And then I tapped the number 3 in the top number bar. And then I clicked on the top face because we are making an open empty box, which doesn't have a lid. Then I clicked the delete key and I clicked delete faces so that the top face is gone now. Then I clicked A to make all of everything selected. You'll also see that we have 2000 millimeters shown for every side. If I just click on this side, it shows 2000 millimeters. But how did we do that? And that's important because we're trying to measure stuff. Boy, this is not my strong suit. Calm it down, baby, and explain. Okay, what we did here is we went up to this little mesh edit mode thing and we turned on edge length. If we toggle it off, you'll see that all of those things disappear. You could also turn on the edge angles. I don't need that. It's too much information. These things will not show up when you are in object mode, which is the mode that we are in when we tap tab and we come back out to this. When we click on an object and we tap tab, we're in edit mode, and that's when the side lengths will show up. If yours are not showing up in millimeters, that is because you need to do that in, what is that, scene properties? Yes. Scene properties. So there is a little units toggle. You can turn the units into either metric or imperial, and when that is in that, you can change the length to millimeters, centimeters, whatever you like, and you'll see that that updated to 200 centimeters. But I measured everything in millimeters, so we're going to measure everything in millimeters. Okay. Now that we're in edit mode, we tap A to select everything, and we want to make this the size of our actual real life box. So the way that I did that, and the box dimensions that we're looking for are whatever the hell these box dimensions are. What are these box dimensions? Let's click on it, go into edit mode. So it's 285. The interior dimensions are all 285, and then they're 95.2 millimeters high. So 285 and then 95.2 is what we want to make this second bigger box. I've already done it, but I'll do it a second time for you. So tab to go into edit mode, and then you tap S to start scaling. And if you move your mouse around, it'll scale, and you can see that the sides are auto updating their sizes as you scale them. Obviously, this is a little bit imprecise. So what you can do is you can do a little bit of math if you like. We know that we are trying to get this from 2,000 down to 285. So that's, let's go the other way. 285 divided by 2,000. So 0.1425. So if we tap S to scale, and then we type in that number, 0.1425, and then we click to stop the transformation, and we come on down. If you want to come on down and make this like full size, you can use like your little mouse scroll wheel, or if you have a number pad, you can click the period on the num pad and it'll make it that size. So now we can see that all of the edges of this cube are all 285 millimeters, which is almost exactly what we want, but obviously this box is a bit too tall because we're shooting for 95.2 millimeters in height. And if we want to scale just the height, we click S, and we're scaling everything. We don't want to do that. We just want to scale the height. So we will tap Z, because that is the height dimension. The length and width dimensions are the X and Y dimensions, but height is Z. So we're scaling into height, and what I did for this is I legitimately just like got it pretty close, which we're shooting for whatever I said. Not what are we shooting for? We're shooting for 95.2. 95.2. So I am just going to scale this on the Z axis by clicking Z, and then I'm just gonna like eyeball it. 95.2. So and there we go, 95.2. If you want a little bit more precise, you can get in a little bit closer, and then you'll be able to scale a little bit more precisely. If you are scaling and you don't want to be scaling, because you're like, oh no, it's already perfect, I don't want to lose what I had, right click and it'll snap back to the thing that it was previously. If you're scaling and you want to lock it in at where it's at, you will left click and it'll lock it in where it's at. I'm just going to Control Z and reverse that. And I'm actually going to delete all of that I just did, because I've already done it once, so I don't need a second box. Okay, now it's time to do the 3D modeling of the box. All right. And the reason that this box is here is to make sure that everything fits, but I've already measured this stuff out. I don't need to see this right now, so I'm just gonna hide it and get rid of it. We are going to make a second box.
Hi, that Ben never explained what the point of that was. The point of that is so that you have a digital version of the board game box that you can put all of the digital designed insert pieces into to check and see if they fit into the real box. You have a digital version of the real box so that you can test fit everything and make sure that there is enough space in there to do it. That's the point of the digital box. Ben never mentioned that, and it will never come up again, but that's why he did it. Okay, thanks, bye.
I did this last night, but I turned off the camera because I was embarrassed at how poorly I was doing it, so I'm going to do it again now that I've done it once, and I'm going to walk you through in a more helpful way, because I actually will kind of know what I'm doing this time. I still won't really know what I'm doing, but I will have done it once, and I have something to base this on. I will preface this by saying this is the wrong way to do this. There are better ways to do this. I don't know what they are, but they exist. There's no world in which this is the best way to do this. Okay, but you can see that I did actually successfully 3D model what I was trying to 3D model. This is the box and this is the lid. And actually, hold on one second, it works. Here's the box and here's the lid. The lid comes off and the stuff goes in there, and the stuff comes out of there, and you can slide the lid on and off, and it works. It functions. That's upside down. This is right side up now, and there you go. It works. I'll probably have better shots of it than that, but it does indeed function. Okay, so how did I do this? Yeah, let's make it again, and that'll be good practice for me, even though it's gonna suck real bad and I'm gonna hate it. So let's hide these so that I can't see them, and so that I don't know what the good version looks like. Okay, we're going to make a cube, because it's a cube, and then if we tab, we can see the dimensions and everything. We want this box to be, we want it to be 40 millimeters high. So we're going to scale it on the Z axis a bunch. we want it to be 40 millimeters high. So if we can get it down to 400 exactly, can we? Yeah, 400. And then we're going to scale this by 0.1. So now it's 40 millimeters high on the edges. We want it to be 110 millimeters long. So on the x-axis, we're going to tap x, and we're going to scale until we see 110. Boom, that's 110. And then we want it to be 158 millimeters deep. So S to scale, Y to scale on the y-axis, 158. And there's 158. And now the box is the size that we want it to be, but it's missing a few key features. First of all, we want the box to not have this face. And I should say, when I'm like moving stuff around like this, that is me holding the middle mouse wheel. If you haven't figured this out at this point, you're probably mad at me that I haven't said it. You probably like looked it up. So you hold the middle mouse wheel to scroll around this way. If you want to move like laterally, that is still the middle mouse wheel, but you hold shift first. So shift and then middle mouse wheel, and then you move laterally. If you want to zoom, you can use the middle mouse wheel and scroll it, or you can hold control and then click the middle mouse wheel and move your mouse in and out, and that will do that. So sorry, I didn't say that. Oops. Okay, I want to get rid of this face because this is the face that is going to be open, like on a sandwich that is an open face sandwich. So I'm going to click, sorry, I should say what I'm doing. Click delete, and then click delete faces, and now that face is gone and the box is open. Now, I want this box to be solid, because if I were to print this right now, these walls would have no thickness whatsoever, because they are just, they're even thinner than paper thin. They're non-existently thin right now. So we need to solidify this. How are we going to do that? Well, we're going to tab out of edit mode so that we are now in object mode. If you tab, you can see that it swaps. Ooh, edit, ooh, object, ooh, edit. We want to be in object mode. Then we're going to add a modifier. So make sure you're in the little modifier tab, add modifier, and we're going to generate a solidify modifier. So there's a whole bunch of different types of modifiers that you can add, but we're going to go generate and then solidify. And that's thicker than we want. We want this to be 2 millimeters thick, and we want even thickness. And even thickness is going to make it so that this is 2 millimeters when it's not that way. This is 2 millimeters, and we don't like that. We want even thickness. And then we are going to click on this little drop-down arrow, and we are going to apply this modifier. So when we go back into edit mode, we click tab to go back into edit mode. Now this actually has the geometry that we just put on there by solidifying it. If we go to before we clicked apply, I just click Control Z a whole bunch of times. If we go into edit mode, the only actual points of geometry are still that flat it's three-dimensional, but like two-dimensional sides kind of thing, because it hasn't been applied yet. This modifier is only theoretical until you actually click apply. And I should note that if you're in edit mode and you want to go click apply, it doesn't exist. You can't do it in edit mode. So you got to go back into object mode and then click apply. And then when you go back into edit mode, it's got the geometry. It has all these points that it didn't have before. Incredible. If you didn't want to do any more work, and believe you me, last night when I was recording and I felt like a dumb idiot, I wanted to stop right here, because if you were to print this would work. It would be a box without one side. I think you would definitely want to print it so that like this was the bottom, this was touching the build plate and not this, because trying to make these long flat lines with no support would be a trick. But you could print this if you didn't want to deal with a lid. But I do want to deal with a lid, so let's do the lid. And this is the part that really screwed me up yesterday, because it really screwed me up. it's a little bit trickier what I had to do with the lid. How did I do it? I don't know. I don't really remember. Let's find out together. Something that I should note that I don't think I've said is you can switch either by clicking on these between dealing with vertexes, dealing with edges, or dealing with faces. So when I'm dealing with faces and I click on a face, it selects the face. When I'm dealing with edges, you click on edges, and then if you end up holding control and then clicking on multiple edges, it will select a face. And the same deal with vertexes. So vertexes is just the little points. So if I click on all of these vertexes, then it'll end up selecting the face. And we need to know that because we're going to be dealing with vertexes in a moment. Anyone who really knows how to use Blender is about to be very upset with what they see me do, I think. So I am going to select these faces over here, and I am going to tap E to extrude these faces out. But we don't want to extrude them this much. We only want to extrude them 2 millimeters, right? Yes, 2 millimeters. So I'm just going to tap 2 because we're in millimeter mode. And so that is going to add, if we click on this edge, a 2 millimeter extra edge that we can see. Okay, that's all well and good. But we don't want this extra lip edge everywhere. We want it along the sides and along the bottom because that's where the rail is going to be. So I am going to click 3 to go into face select mode, and I'm going to delete this face. So now you can see that it's open up. We can kind of like see inside of here. We're going to want to fill that eventually, but not right away. And that's not the only face we're going to be deleting. We're also going to delete this top face here and this face here. And then if we click on the numpad 7, that's going to bring us to top view. And you can kind of see, and if I take it slightly out of top view, you can see that these edges and bottom are now like extended out and the top part isn't, which is where the little lid is going to slide down. So that's all going well, but it's not done because the rail doesn't exist. We've created like the frame of the rail, but not the rail itself. So one of the first things that I'm going to do here is I'm going to fill in this open gap because we don't want this to be open. So I'm going to tap 1 on not the numpad, like at the top of the keyboard, to go into vertex mode. And then we need some new vertexes. Let's do it like this, I guess. I'm going to click on this vertex and this vertex, and I'm going to right click and subdivide, which is going to create an extra vertex right in the middle here. You see that? Then we're going to tap G so that we're moving this vertex around, but we don't want to move the vertex around like this because look at how bad it looks. We want to move this vertex just along the X axis. So we're going to tap X, and now this vertex is just moving along the X. And here's one of the things that I'm going to do that people who know Blender are going to go, hey, that can't be the right way to do this. So I'm tapping G and X, and I'm just kind of eyeballing it so that this vertex is like basically over this vertex here. I'm just kind of, it's not perfect. It's good enough. I don't care. It doesn't really matter. Once I have selected, I click on this one and then I shift click on this one. So they're both selected. I'm going to click F to fill those 2 vertexes. Boom. Now there's an edge that goes between those 2 vertexes. How lovely for me. Now, I could have, actually, this is what I should have done. I should have also selected, is this what I should have done? No, it's not. I am going to click on these 2 vertexes and this one and tap F again. That is going to fill this with a solid there, as you can see. So now there's a face here. And then I'm going to do that one more time. I'm going to tap on this vertex. I'm going to click on this vertex, holding shift so that they're selecting. I'm going to click on this vertex so that that's selected. And finally this vertex. So, and if I tap F, that is going to fill in, and now that is a solid over there. I probably didn't need to do that specifically, but I did. And so I'm going to do it. Am I going to do it on the other side? I guess I don't really need to because I can mirror this. No, I won't. I won't. Because that's... I won't do that. I won't do that. I'm gonna mirror stuff. So I'm gonna click on these two vertexes. No, I'll just click on these. I'm gonna right click, subdivide, then I'm gonna move this guy. I'm just gonna do it. I'm just gonna move this thing, move this vertex over. Where's the little point? There it is. Move this over there. That's close enough. It doesn't need to be perfect. I don't care enough to make it perfect. Gonna click on these, tap F, fill that in. Then we want to be able to, whoa. We're gonna click on this vertex, this vertex, this vertex, this vertex. Nope, not this vertex. This vertex, F, fill that in. So now that's all filled in, and then we're gonna go here, 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 and F, and now that is filled in. So look at that. We've got this edge filled in, no weirdness face-wise. So that's, part of the battle done. But how do we actually make the rail? How did I do this? Okay. So I want the rail, if we tap 7 to go to top view, I want the rail to be 3.5 millimeters from this edge over to here, and then coming in 2.5 millimeters. So this little will take us to 2.5 millimeters. So 3.5 to here, 2.5 into, so that it's 1 millimeter, and then a 1 millimeter like lip here, if that makes any amount of sense. Maybe I'll do the demonstration closer. So from this edge, 3.5 millimeters, and then on a slant, 2.5 millimeters, and then 1 millimeter here. So this to this is 2.5 millimeters. This to this is 1.5 millimeters. So the whole thing is 3.5. You understand? You get what I'm saying? It's not that deep. So we already know that from here to here, this is 2 millimeters. It says 2.83, but that's just because it's on the slant. The actual like lateral distance is 2 millimeters, right? Maybe. It should be. So if we extrude out from here along the x-axis 1.5, we got to go negative 1.5 millimeters. Extrude, tap E to extrude along the X minus 1.5. Now, from here to here, this is 3.5 millimeters, right? Yes. Okay. So let's do what we did over there on the top and just kind of fill this puppy in, right? So G to move this vertex, X to move the vertex only along the X-axis. And let's make it 1.5 millimeters, as it now is 1.5 millimeters. Look at that. Then we're going to go click on this. We're going to click on this, holding shift. We are going to click on this, and we are going to fill that on in by tapping F. And now we have the makings of the rail system. We've got part of the thing figured out. What we want to do now is get rid of these two. No, we don't want to get rid of those. We want to get rid of this edge. So we're going to tap X to get rid of, and then delete this edge. Is that what I wanted to do? I don't think it is. No, it's not what we wanted to do. I wanted to get rid of this face, not that edge. Yes. All right. Okay, this is actually great. So we know that we want to be in the middle here. So let's go into vertex mode. We know that from... Whoa. From here to here, it's 1.89 millimeters. What we want to do is subdivide so that from here to here, it is 1 millimeter. We want this edge to be 1 millimeter. So we're going to move along the X until it is 1 millimeter. Beautiful. And now, yeah, let's let's take these two and move these G to move, Z to move them on this axis. And we want this to be 38 millimeters, which it is. So now this should be a straight line. Okay, great. I hope that's not weird. Okay, all right. So now here to here, and we are going, all right. So I've got this, that's half the battle. I need the same thing at the bottom. I need to do that again at the bottom. Whoa, we're too dang close. Need the same thing at the bottom. Well, this is an example of me doing something that I'm not supposed to do. I should not have this point connected to nothing, but screw it. So I'm tapping E to extrude, X to extrude along the X, and then we want 1 millimeter. We want 1 millimeter. Yeah, that's really something that I shouldn't be doing. Well, what are you going to do? Tapping these two, F to fill that in so that there's a full line. And I'm going to click this, I'm going to click this, I'm going to click this, and I'm going to click this. Nope, I need one more. I need one more point. What do I need? Yeah. I need to do the same thing with this face. So I'm going to subdivide, and we want that to be, this is 1 millimeter? Beautiful. I want this point. I want this point. I don't want that point. I want these 2 points. I'm getting there. I'm getting there, guys. I promise. Select these points. F, fill it in. I think that's right. Is this now 3 millimeters total? 1.5 plus 1 plus 1. That's 3.5 millimeters. Is that what I said that I want? 3.5 on my little piece of paper. It is what I want. All right. So we've got a rail. Let's fill in the top bit so it's not empty. One, we are going to do this as well as we possibly can. We're going to fill in this triangle. We're going to fill in this triangle. We're going to fill in this square. I believe that the proper way to do this is by filling in either quads or tris. You shouldn't be mixing, but oh well. Deal with it. Deal with it, punk. And we want this to be filled in too, and it's not. So if we fill that in, and if we fill that in, then that's all filled in now. So if we go, oh, it's not filled in. Why aren't you oh, because I selected shit at the bottom. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. You're making me work for it, I'll tell you that. How can I do this easily? I just need a point here. This is not, I promise this is not the best way to do this, but it's done. Okay. Okay. So you're looking over here and you're like, I got to do all that again? Thankfully, no. Blissfully, no. Instead, what you can do is you can add another modifier. We're going to generate a mirror modifier. And we are going to do this on the x-axis, and we're also going to bisect. Why? I don't exactly know what that means, but it makes it correct. So once you do that, and then you apply it, now it has the same mesh on either side. And this is all that I did for the box. That's what I did. That's what I did. That's what I did. If you know a better way to do it that way. But I did this, and you can see it worked. Janky as it may be, it did work. How did I make the lid? Thank God the lid is easier. The lid is so much easier. We are going to make, we're in object mode, we're going to Shift A to make another cube. Boy, oh boy, is that a big old cube. We want this lid to be 2 millimeters tall. So we're going to scale it along the Z a lot. What, 0.01? Is that going to make it 2 millimeters tall? I gotta like what, apply shift shift S? No, couldn't. How do I apply transformations? Shift A? No. Shift A? No. Shift S? No. Control A? Apply all transforms. So now this shows 20 millimeters high. So I need it to be even less. Scale Z 0.1. 2 millimeters. Super tiny. Super, super tiny. But a little too wide and tall. We want this to be scale 1. No, sorry. It's 154. We want it to be 154. So 154. We're going to tap G to move this. We're going to do Shift Z to move it on all dimensions except for the Z dimension. So it's not moving up and down. It's just moving laterally. Just to move it so it's not inside. 154 on one side, and then we want it to be 106 on the other. So on the X, going to move it to be 106. Well, this isn't right. Oh, because I changed. I was originally going to have this be the top of it. So this is the dimensions of the top of it, but it's not the dimensions of the face of it. So the front of it. So we want the Y to be 40 instead of whatever it just was. Okay. So mostly this is the lid. Mostly this is the lid done. I scaled it. I must have scaled it along the Z-axis at some point. So I need to make that 2 millimeters. It is not nearly thick enough. I like my lids thick. There we go. Oopsies, scaled it down. Now, all we need to do is make it so that the top dimension, so I'm going to 3 and then select this top face. I'm going to scale it S along the X-axis, tap X. We want this to be a trapezoid, basically, so that it works in the little lid thingy. So I'm going to scale it to be 101 according to this thing. Does that make sense? Let's go into edit mode and see how wide this is. So that's, I want to be dealing with edges. So that's 0.8, that's 53, that's 53, so that's 106. 106 plus 0.8 plus 0.8, basically plus 2, so 108. So at the lid's widest, we want it to be 108-ish, but less, so that it fits. And then at its less widest, its shallowest, we want it to be 108 minus the total here is 2 millimeters, so 106. But really we want it to be like 107 and 105, so that there's a little bit of wiggle room, so that it fits in. So 107, 105. Let's 107, 105. Sure. I believe that I'm right. That math makes sense to me. So let's scale this up to be along the X-axis, scale it up to be 107, and then scale this on the X-axis so that it's 105. Does that feel right? Doesn't that feel wrong? My paper says 101, and that feels more correct. Trust the paper. Trust the paper. I don't know. Scale X down to 101. I could actually look and see what I did on the one that I know worked. It's 103 and 107. 103 and 107, and that's what worked. So I guess my math was right. Not on the paper. 103 and 107. All right, great. So I did that, and then you probably could stop here, but on the Ankh insert, this one, the edges of the lid don't go all the way down. Like you can see that it doesn't go all the way down. So I was like, maybe I should do that. I don't know exactly what the benefits of doing that are, but they did it on an insert that I printed and that works. So maybe that's a good idea, you know? So I did that on this one, so I'll show you how I did it. Well, because you want it. So do we want to scale this down to 38? Yeah, I guess let's scale this along the y-axis down to 38, and then nope, no, definitely not that. And then select this face, extrude it back 2 millimeters. And then basically what I did was more bad Blender stuff. More stuff that you shouldn't do in Blender. Because if you select this and then you move it along the x-axis, it moves the whole line, and we don't want that. So what I did was I just deleted that X to delete the edge, and then selected this point, and then I just kind of like moved it along the x-axis so that it was like pretty close. And that's not pretty close. GX, move it so it's like pretty close to being 90 degrees. Let's subdivide this. Let's move this GX, get it pretty close to in line with this point. Just pretty close. It doesn't need to be perfect. It's fine. And then fill this in. And then fill this in, because you're like, I don't know how to use Blender at all. And it's like, I know how to use Blender more than you, but I still don't know how to use it. I still don't know how to use it, because I'm doing this shit instead of doing it right. Good enough. Good enough. And then I printed this out. And here's how I did that. I went to Bamboo Studio. If you've got a different slicer, I am not going to take you through how to do it. I don't know how to do it in your slicer. I'm sorry. I don't know how. I added in the files, and maybe in meters or inches. Do you want to scale to millimeters? Yes, because it's in millimeters, so that's perfect. Then, since you could just save this as 2 files. I saved it as just 1 file because I know that I can do this in here. I split to objects so that it separates into 2 separate objects. I rotated this along the x-axis 90 degrees so that the lid is facing up. Then I rotated this, and you could easily just do this in Blender so that you don't have to do this here, but I didn't. So that the widest part is on the bottom, so that like it slopes upwards. And then, because I wanted the little hex pattern, you go into this thing, and I upped the wall loops. I don't know if that's necessary. I don't know anything. I turned down the top shell layers to 0, turned down the bottom shell layers to 0, and made the sparse infill honeycomb. And when you slice it, you can see that it does it as these slices, and then when it actually prints, it's a little honeycomb, so you can see through it to me, so that there's, I don't know, there's airflow and it doesn't use as much material, and you know, I don't know, whatever. That's what I did for this box. How long is this video gonna be? 2 hours? 5 hours? I don't know, maybe. But I'm taking you through it. I'm taking you through it, warts and all. And I'll tell you what, there are warts. So I'm going to hang up now. Hope you're having a great day. And we're back. I have now designed and printed everything for this game. I went way faster when I wasn't recording everything. And I don't want this video to be like 4 hours long. That's not the point of it. The point of it is to show the process. So what I'm going to do right now is take you through the stuff that I did with the other components that are like different techniques. Because for the most part, like the stuff that I did was the same as what I did in that very, very long thing that you just saw and probably skipped through. So let's just look at kind of other techniques that I ended up using on other pieces so that you can do kind of all this stuff. So a big one is going to be the Boolean. So let's go in here and let's just make this smaller. Let's also get rid of that so we are not looking at that. I'm not doing this for anything in particular. So let's scale this down to like, I don't know, sure, that's fine. The point of this is to just show this one modifier. So let's say that you wanted, like I did on which one is active right now? This guy. Like I did for big circs, you want to have little holes in it that fit circle stuff. How do you do that? Oh, you've come to the right place. So what you do is, first of all, we're going to add another mesh. We're going to add a cylinder. This cylinder is simply too large. We're going to scale down the cylinder to the size that we want the cylinder to be. You're, obviously like measuring your cylinder and making it the right size. Something that I did that I didn't know about as like a thing before this is, if you want to know, because obviously when you're like looking at this, it's like, oh, that's 2,000 millimeters. But what is the distance across this cylinder? Good question. If you want to have access to that information, you can use the knife tool and click on 2 points across from each other and then hit enter, and it will slice it that way. So now we can see that this line is 2,000 millimeters. So like if you are scaling it, you can see whatever. It's also not 2,000 millimeters. The scale isn't applied because I didn't scale it down while it was in edit mode. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter at all. We're here to talk about the Boolean. So let's say that we want to put a circle cutout into this. All you got to do is select the thing that you want the cutout to go into, and then generate a Boolean, and then click on the object that you want to cut out, and it has already done it. You can't tell because this object is still visible, but if we turn off the visibility of this object, check this out. There's a hole in it. Dear Liza. And if we were to do anything, if we were to change this at all, if we were to make it longer so that it goes out the bottom, it like auto updates, right? If we were to go to this cube and then apply this and then hide this, now the actual mesh has been affected. So now if we were to change anything about this cylinder, nothing will happen because it's already been applied to the shape. So let's go back to before we have applied it. There's no need to apply this particular modifier unless you want to change something about the mesh afterwards. You can just like hide the cylinder and then export this thing. That's what I did, and it works just fine. The other thing that I did was, in addition to having the cutout of the circle, you want to be able to get at the thing that's within the circle, right? So what I did for that was just to basically create like a little notch that goes out like this. It doesn't need to go all the way to the bottom. I just did it so that it was to the same height as the base, and then just do another Boolean. So this one we want to target the cube, and then if we get rid of that, now it's like when you reach in there, you can actually get at the thing and then lift it out that way. You stick your little finger in and then whip, as opposed to needing to like dump the whole thing over. So that is one of the two techniques that like wasn't covered in that really, really long thing. The other technique that wasn't covered in that really, really long thing is, well, actually, I'll show you two because you've been so good. So first of all, if you tap I, that brings up the inset. Whatever face you've selected, it will inset. So I've clicked on this face. You could click on this face. You could click on any of them. But I'm choosing this one. I'm going to inset. And then you can either use your mouse to inset it, or you can just tap 2, and it'll do the 2 millimeters that I've been doing for everything. Now this is all inset 2 millimeters. And then if I were to extrude this down, you can see that it works really great. And now it's like we've made a little box. So that is something that's helpful. The other thing that's helpful is right now all 4 of these edges are selected because I have this whole plane selected. If I wanted to select just a couple of the edges, I could hold shift and click on the edges, but I do actually want to select all of them. Once you've got the edges selected that you want, we're going to bevel. And yeah, if you know Blender, this is like super, super simple, but this is something that I completely forgot about, and I did stuff that was extremely unnecessary and way complicated to achieve this exact same thing, which, watch how easy this is. You've got all these edges selected. You've got this face selected. Control B and then pull. The point of this is not to make, I mean, you could do it to make this like flat side, but if you use your mouse wheel to scroll, you can make a lovely like gradiated bevel, and you could type in 20 so that the bevel goes up 20 millimeters. And then this also, if you aren't doing the like edge cutout so that you can lift stuff up through the edge cutout, you can bevel the edges so that you can kind of like scoop whatever the components are out of the container that they are in more easily. Since the edge is curved as opposed to just straight, and then you gotta like scrabble until you flip the token up to its side and then you pull it up that way. This makes that a little bit easier, and that is how beveling works. I'm gonna go to the table and show everything that I printed. Bye.
Hey, it's the future. It's like a month after recording all of that, and I've edited it all, and it's about to go up. It's gonna go up very, very soon. I need to make a thumbnail. Shoot, I forgot about that until just now. Anyway, the point of this is to say, at no point do I really TLDR it. So this is the TLDR. Here's the process. Here's what I did quickly. First, I took all the stuff that I had in the board game box out of the board game box and kind of organized it on the table. Then I measured the size of the board game box. Then I took 2 pieces of paper and kind of taped them together to be the size of the floor of the board game box. Then I started putting the various parts of the board game onto that piece of paper to lay out the floor plan of the board game box. And I put the floor level first, and then the next level, and then the next level, until we had reached the total top. Then I started measuring all of the individual components, the stacks of cards, the amounts of tokens, etc., with calipers, but you could do it with like a ruler relatively easily, just like a little bit less accurately. So, you know, overshoot things, be a little bit over conservative with like, it looks like it could be 1.5, could be 1.6 millimeters. Let's call it 1.8 millimeters just to be safe. So I measured all of the stuff and then wrote down all of those numbers, but also then added a little bit of additional space on every side, because all of the walls are going to be, for me, they were all 2 millimeters. So if a thing was 150 millimeters top to bottom, then I would say that it was 154 millimeters, because it would be 150 millimeters, but then there's 2 millimeter wall on this side and 2 millimeter wall on this side, so it's 154 millimeters total. So when I'm measuring stuff to see if it fits in the box, you got to measure with like the thickened version, because it needs thickness to be printed, you know? It's got to be thick. Don't make a joke about thick. Okay, so once all that's done, I've got the paper with all of the written out dimensions. Then I go over to Blender and I start modeling things. And I pretty much like modeled a thing and then printed a thing so that I would know whether or not, if that worked, then that might educate me on whether the next thing would work. So I would model a thing and then print a thing, and then if that worked, then I would move on to the next part of the process. None of the parts of the process required remodeling. The lids did require reprinting to very, very slightly change the scale of the lids. Like there were a couple lids that I printed, that like I modeled and then printed, and ended up being just a little too tight. Like they were too, when you would slide them in, they would be too tough to pull back out. So I would reprint those at like 99% scale, so that they would be very, very close to the same size, but just a little bit thinner, so that they would slide a little bit more easily. And that's the only like prototyping that I had to do. And realistically, I think probably the file that I'm putting up onto whatever service I'm putting it up is not changed, because I don't know exactly what the measurements are. So if you're printing this, you may find that you need to print the lids twice. Sorry, it's fine. It takes like, I think it takes like 20 minutes to print the lids. It's not very hard. Sorry, I don't know. I don't know which ones are which. I didn't think all that through. So I printed all this stuff out, and then kind of once you've done that, then you're done. That's the deal. I will say that there was a little bit of like measuring things, because like I printed something out and then I'd go, oh wait, I screwed this thing up when I modeled this, so that means that I'm gonna have to remodel or like remeasure for the next one. Like I think the big, not the biggest, but the hero card holders that I did, I added 2 millimeters to the front for the lids, because I just like extruded out instead of making the whole thing. But then I changed the dimensions of other stuff, and I feel like you will find that is true, that like after printing something you go, oh, either I messed this up, or like the reality of printing this means that I have to change XYZ for the next object that I'm modeling. Oh my stars. Yes, and then I would like, as I was printing things out, I printed them out and modeled them basically like top to bottom. So I did the big hero card things first, because those went on the bottom, and then I did the tokens that went above them in the thing, the token holders that I did those next. I did kind of like layer by layer in terms of modeling, so that I could print and then put them into the box and make sure everything was still working as I went. Everything was still fitting with the, you know what I'm saying. But that's basically the TLDR process in 6.5 minutes, as opposed to the hour and 20 that the rest of the video is. So hope that clarifies things for you if things were feeling loosey-goosey. And back to the video.
I did it. Everything's in this box. And by that I mean not quite everything that was in this box is in this box anymore. I ended up nixing, not Richard, a few tokens, like repeated tokens. I'll show you as we get to it. But it's not like everything that was in this box, but it was superfluous things of which I had more than I needed. And I ended up getting rid of them. I think I'm dumping 3 dice as well, because I just had like a ton of dice, and I don't need as many dice as I had, and the dice didn't all fit in this version of the insert. This is also like, I kind of realized halfway through making this that there is, and I have, a bigger Marvel Crisis Protocol box than this one. Like the Earth's Mightiest core set is a larger box than this, and so could I have made an insert that held more stuff and was bigger and would be better for the future. Yeah. Yep. Totally. I clocked it a little too late in the process to change course. And this was a really fun project. So if at some point in the future I do end up getting too much stuff for this, then I will just make another one. It was really fun. If you enjoy kind of like math-based problem solving, this was a blast. Like, I just had a good time the whole time. And there were like multiple iterations that were needed for a few different things. I'll talk about all that. But it was really fun. And as you can see, you can store this vertically. I mean, I suppose when we open it up, we'll see if everything has fallen out. But I've done this before, and it hasn't gone horribly. So I believe you should be able to store this vertically. That's how I designed it, with that hope, that goal in mind. Do I need this on the table? Nah. Oh, it stayed. I don't play by the rules. I also didn't keep, not that I didn't keep, it's actually in the other Marvel Crisis Protocol box with a whole bunch of like terrain and unbuilt miniatures. The original rule book is over there. I was like, I don't need 2 rule books in the same box. That seems a little unnecessary. So that's in the other. I'm keeping the more updated core rules. Okay, let's go through it. I guess I'll like do a top-down camera in addition. You know what? Maybe I'll just set that up right now. Okay, that took way too long to set up. Let's get into it. There's the rulebook at the very, very top, and then there's the score tracker thing. I forgot that the score tracker and the rulebook existed, and so I basically made everything go to the top of the box, and so there's a little bit of lid lift with the insert. Ugh, too bad, so sad. On the top layer, by the way, this has not been, I have not shuffled this around at all. This is what it looks like when after it's stored vertically. So like you can see everything's still in place. At the very top of the insert here, we've got this. So we have this, which holds the bigger Thanos and Dormammu. I don't know what these are called. Scenario, epic scenario, ultimate scenario. I don't know, something cool. And then these I just kind of stuck in here because I forgot that these existed too. But they fit in there. Pretty much everything else is intentional. These I sort of forgot about. Oops. Okay, that's in there. And these lids and boxes, as you can see, like they work. They're not perfect. If you like kind of squish them, they'll like come out a little bit like that. They just kind of, they come out of the, you see that? You see that? They come out of the tracks pretty easily, I would say. So that's not ideal, but it's true. And I'm being honest with you right now. Then we've got the health tokens and energy tokens. Self-explanatory. They are health tokens and energy tokens, and they're separated by amount, 5s, 3s, and 1s. They work. These boxes work real good. Then this over here is like the tokens that you need for tracking stuff. So there's the one that's like the round tracker, and there's the others that track how many points you've got. And those go in this little box. This box was originally, and the one below it were originally made for dice, and then they didn't fit nearly as many dice as I was expecting them to fit. So I put other stuff in there. This is also the little activation tokens are in there. So it's kind of like the stuff that you're going to need for every game. These and those, you just pull those out, and then they're there. Cool. This box is all of the status tokens, and as you can see, there are a mixture of the status tokens that are from the new version, which are the square ones for the most part, and then there are some of the old ones in case you ever need more. But I put the new ones kind of at the top of them so that you're using the slightly nicer graphic ones first, and then if you run out somehow of like, I need more root tokens, then you've got some underneath. So that's that right there. Then we have 2 boxes that are of the exact same size for all of the, whatever these cards are called. I don't know what these cards are called, but they're all the cards. They're the cards that have really pretty artwork on one side and then have arguably too much text on the other. That's on both sides of this box. And the other box, which is the same size but holds very slightly different actual cards, is over here. And this just holds like the range measurement stuff, the threat cards, whatever they're called, the extraction and what, these cards, what I'm talking about. And then all of the action-y cards that are affiliated with a particular affiliation. So, the Avengers cards and whatever. Oh, that's actually interesting. So this, I guess, that's not supposed to be on the other side, as you saw that it was on the other side. So there's a little bit of a gap between the lid and between this. So one of the cards snuck over here. So that's a little flaw that we've just discovered on live TV together. Then, next up, we have all of the tokens associated with the different faction affiliations are in here, and there's room for more. Then next to that, we've got all of these stupid freaking tokens where they're all different, and you gotta put them somewhere. There's these dudes, and then there's watery stuff, and then there's blast things, and there's just too many tokens. So I just made kind of like catch-all trays for the tokens. And then true for this too, you've got like the blue and red extraction and point of interest, person of interest, whatever tokens. Some more of the generic, cosmic cube fragment, and then some of these are in there. There's just too many tokens for this darn game. This is more tokens. These are the same exact boxes as the health and energy token boxes, and it's just more of the tokens that I wish Marvel Crisis Protocol found a way to not have. I think they've made it better with the updated version, the Mightiest Core Set stuff, but too many tokens in the original versions. Then we've got a bunch of dice and the bigger circle tokens. They just fit in here. The dice don't need to be separated. They were separated because I was planning to have other tokens in here, and then I changed my mind and I put the dice in there. This could be open, and then if it was open, it would fit a few more dice. It would probably fit the remaining dice, but I don't need those dice, and so I don't care. But you could do that if you wanted to. Down here, we've got all of the hero cards, of the various fellas and ladies. And this one it opens up on the side instead of on the top. Why did I choose to do that? I don't know if I could really tell you, but I did. And I do kind of like how these look. They look like one of those external hard drives, That's what I think. The other one is literally just more of the same. I have them divided between heroes and villains. So these are all like traditionally villains, Kingpin and, people like that. And the other one is all like kind of good guys, but you do you. There's space for more. Not a billion more, but a good amount more. Another 20, 30 maybe. 40. And then this is the thing that I think is the most fun. These are, because I've got from both core sets, I have 2 sets of the range and movement tools, and then you can like hand one across the table if you're playing with someone who doesn't have their own stuff, which is how I usually play this. I play this like a board game, not like a miniatures game. And these, ta-da, they all like fit in there. And the 3D printer that I have, the Bamboo A1, its maximum print size is 256 millimeters, and I didn't really feel like testing that, so I made this 255 millimeters, which means that just the longest range tool, the 5, it sticks out a teeny tiny bit, and by a teeny tiny, I mean like maybe a millimeter, maybe half of a millimeter, which doesn't matter for storage, but like if you want it to be flush, then maybe go for 256 millimeters and test it. I wasn't brave enough to do that because I don't know what happens when you try to build something that's too much. I don't know what happens on the printer. I don't know. So I just did it, and it's 2 of the exact same thing. There are just the little range rulers in there, and this just fits really nice. This feels like a little puzzle piece, and I like how that feels a lot. That is, that's it. That's what I did. It packs up, you know. It packs up in much the same way as it stores. I'm really, really happy with this. It was as I said earlier, fun to make. It is functional. It's a better solution than what I had it as, which was like a Plano box and then stuff in plastic baggies. Is it as elegant as it could be? No, but it does mean that I can kind of just like open up the box and pull out a couple of things that we need, and it's easier to see where everything is because the Plano boxes, they were kind of sorted where, you know, some of the tokens would be kind of on their side, and this is everything sort of facing straight up so you can see what it is right away. You don't need to unbag anything. You don't need to rebag anything at the end. Yeah, I don't know. I think as I make more inserts, I will up the level of like elegance that I'm working with. But for a first, I'm very happy. I'm very happy with what I've done here. And yeah, let me know if this was helpful to you. Let me know if you want more clarification on any part of the process. I don't know that I'll like make a whole other video, but I'll gladly like respond to comments if you have questions about parts of the process. And maybe I would make another video if there's like, I'm interested in this technique. I don't know if I'm interested in doing that technique, but if I am, then I would certainly do it for you. Yeah, this was rad. This was so fun. I had a great time. How did you feel? What are you feeling right now? What did you have for dinner today? Or if you haven't had dinner yet, yesterday. I like dinner. I want to have dinner again. I had dinner once. You only get really one dinner a day, which is kind of messed up. Taco Bell tried to do 4th meal, but, you know, we can't always get what we want. This was me making an insert for Marvel Crisis Protocol, and that's, I think, probably where I'm going to end it. Sort of just saying stuff. You've left. Yeah. 3D printing. Cracking good time. All right, bye.